where would you be, please? At the back, in the middle.
And first of all, let me start by thanking you for commissioning the report and for bringing this topic to the table, which is definitely very important. I would also like to mention that a lot of our research focuses on EU funding to outside of the European Union, so bear that in mind. We're not talking about, our research does not mention funding within the European Union. And we've reached actually a lot of the same conclusions that your report did. So definitely a lot of the recommendations are recommendations that we support, and we're definitely backing that up. Just to give a broad picture, keep in mind that the EU is the biggest aid donor in the world, with $82 billion, euros, not dollars, with 82 billion euros being used for aid in general. Of this, NGOs are a part of this. It comes out of this. Now, there is no specific figure for exactly how much the EU gives to NGOs, and that's part of what there's been talked about here. There's a lack of an organized system that makes it visible for everyone to realize exactly how much is going to NGOs. Now, of this, almost 100% of funding commitment to the top 28 EU NGO beneficiaries made by the European Commission departments dealing with external matters. This is DEFCO and ECHO, basically. And this was actually in your report, so this data is not ours. This is from the report, and it's definitely to show that it is so important to look outside the borders of the EU and what is being done by NGOs outside of borders of the EU. So in this context, I'll be very curious to see more work on measuring the impact that has been done on these different areas in the world and evaluate these activities, because even beyond the transparency itself, because an organization can be doing everything they think is the best, but thank you, but not necessarily having the impact that the EU wishes them to have on the ground. And beyond that, the dialogue with NGOs from the European Union side. I mean, would it be possible to consider creating a dialogue that would take into account realities from the ground, talking with NGOs who are active there? And I mean that also NGOs who are not funded by the EU. Because otherwise there's an echo chamber effect. If the EU is financing projects that they consider to be pertinent, and then those NGOs are the ones funded, being brought to the table by the European Commission. So I think that's the main elements that I wanted to bring up.
Ja, vielen Dank für die Argumente aus Ihrer Sicht.
Well, thank you very much from